How's it going, everyone? And today we're going to be talking about Gladiator Beast. So this is a Gladiator Beast Tri-Brigade deck. We started building it on stream. I've since taken it and refined it into the deck that you're seeing in front of you now, and it has been performing amazingly, going in, wiping out top tier decks left, right and center like it's nobody's business. As a blind second deck, it plays a very unique role in the meta where there's a lot of decks that are trying to set up sort of boards right now. You've got the likes of Math Mech, you got the likes of Sword Soul, and decks like this really heavily counter that. I will be the first to admit it doesn't play very well against Runic depending upon the situation. If you can like Imperma Huggin and then Lightning Storm, you're golden, right? But like that's not going to be every time. It's a bit of a rough one. That's why we're playing 1,000,001 hand traps and a bunch of like going second cards, trying to maximize the chances we have of actually seeing these powerful cards against the likes of those. But to be honest, against virtually everything else, and you need to think about the bigger picture. Yes, Runic is a popular enough deck, but it's not everything, right? And this has a really positive matchup against virtually everything else, absolutely crushing them with these powerful going second cards like your Forbidden Droplet and your Lightning Storm, which is absolutely amazing. And then being able to go into crazy combos, summoning out some of the coolest boss monsters in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! With your massive Gladiator Beast, Stomatineus, and Herculinos, as well as Gyzerus as well. Being able to pop cards in the battle phase with Gyzerus. This deck is absolutely insane, and it's been performing super well. We've got a whole bunch of replays here. I think a good chunk of them are against Sword Soul specifically. I don't know why, but this deck just absolutely eats up Sword Soul like it's nobody's business. But yes, we're going to be doing a card for card at the end for anyone who's unfamiliar with a lot of these cards. I'm sure there's quite a few people out there who probably aren't super keen on what all of these cards do. So we will be covering them all off at the end, card for card. So stick around for that. And if this is your first time seeing one of our videos here, or maybe if you've been watching for a while and just haven't decided to subscribe, now's as good a time as any, my friends. You know, it helps you out, doesn't cost you anything, helps me out, gets me the extra support. So you know what, it's a win-win. Why don't you do me a wee favour and subscribe while you're down there, and let's get into game number 1. Alrighty, getting into game 1 here, and look at this hand. Our opponent's going to normal summon out their Ecclesia here to begin their turn, bringing out Sword Soul of Mo Yi, revealing a worm to special summon out one of their tokens. Then they're going to Synchro Summon off into Sword Soul Grandmaster Shizao. Shizao's going to search their deck for a Sword Soul card, and Mo Yi is going to draw a card. Pretty standard stuff here from our Sword Soul player. Let's see if they have any space for it. They're going to grab the Emergence, which means they almost certainly already have their Long Wand. They're going to resummon the Mo Yi from the graveyard, which is an interesting choice. Emergence then going to grab their Strategist. I guess they just wanted to use the Emergence for it. They're going to now discard the Ashuna to grave to summon out their Long Wand. Then they're going to synchro off into Baron de Fleur, and I believe at that they're going to pass it back to us. Yep, end phase. Perfect. Okay, so they've got an Omni Negate and a Monster Negate here, 3 cards in hand, so we could be seeing some hand traps. We're going to open up with a Lightning Storm. They're going to activate Baron de Fleur in response, so we're going to use our Droplet. Droplet, ditch the kit, ditch the Lightning Storm, which means that's a 2-for-1 on the Negates. We're going to get the Negate Baron de Fleur as well as the Grand Master, so 2-for-1 for us. Really good. And look at the state of our hand. We're still in such a good position, wiping out all of his attack position monsters. Kit would send from deck to graveyard our Nerval. Nerval would search our deck for Karaz, but unfortunately we're getting negated. But looking at our hand, that's not going to be a problem for very much longer. Tenki then coming out. Tenki's going to search our deck for Fractal on Gladiator Proving Ground. Again, just trying to bait out sorry, he just used an Ash. But we're just sort of going for it. And we're going to pitch Fractal. Fractal pitches Nerval. Nerval searches our deck for Karaz. Karaz then is going to discard the Lucario that we searched for in order to summon itself out to the field. Banish 2 to summon out the Dragaris. Dragaris taking out the 1800 defense on the monster here. But Vespasius, whenever your Gladiator Beast battles an opponent's monster, can also summon itself straight out to the field. So that's an extra 2800 attack beater for us. Vespasius shuffling itself back into the deck to summon Atriox, which will send Bestiari to grave, which is pretty good. Because now Bestiari is in grave, it means if we search for our Unity, we can then summon a Gyzerus during the battle phase. So we're going to go into our Tamer. So this guy here, let me quickly pause this. This guy here is the engine that makes the whole deck go. You need 2 level 5 or higher Gladiator Beasts, so we're going to use the Augustus and the Vespasius. So When this guy's face up once per turn, you can special summon out a Gladiator Beast fusion monster straight from your extra deck, 0 cost, 0 restrictions, and it's not a hard once per turn, it's soft once per turn. So if you can recycle this card and summon it multiple times, you can in fact special summon out several huge Gladiator Beasts. The first one we summon out is the incredible Domitanius. Domitanius has a monster negate and destroy with 0 cost associated with it, as well as us being able to choose our opponent's attack target. We are going to search our deck for Gladiator Beast United, shuffling back the editor to summon Vespasius, setting a card face down, and passing it to our opponent. So we've got a 4,000 attack monster, and he can only attack this guy. They're going to go Ecclesia off the bat here. We are going to use our Domitanius off to negate the Ecclesia. Whether or not that was a good negate, you tell me. In hindsight, probably not the greatest, because now they've got that triple tactics talent. They're being ballsy. They're just going to pick up 2 extra cards. They are not interested in stealing one of our monsters. They're going to summon 2 more monsters out to the field, going for Verte Anaconda in Sword Souls. You what, mate? Sending the materials from deck to grave to summon out the Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. What an absolute mad lad here. Popping Verte, popping Domitanius, swinging in here. Or sorry, he doesn't go into his battle phase actually for some reason. Maybe he's scared of United. We're going to activate Test Panther to bounce back Vespasius. He's now going to activate the Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. Perhaps he was more worried about this. He's going to pop our 2 monsters, which is just fine. That puts us in a really good position because we win the battle phase. We activate Gladiator Beast United, shuffle back 3 for Gladiator Beast. Heraclinos swings in 3,300 to the face for game. Easy game. United there would also have had the ability to summon a Vespasius, the Domitanius, if it was still on our extra deck. Unfortunately, it was on our grave. It had the ability to summon a Geyserus. Geyserus would have popped 2 cards on our opponent's field as well, if we needed to do that to swing in for lethal. So we had so many plays, man. And that's the thing about this deck. It always sort of has something, because you're generating a lot of resource advantage whenever you're using these massive blowout cards, right? Whenever you're using Lightning Storm, when you're using Droplet, what you're effectively doing is, yes, it's costing you're not generating cards, but the amount of power and advantage you're taking away from your opponent, that's what's putting you ahead. That's what's putting you in these winning positions where they're on the back foot trying to scramble their way to some sort of play, some sort of board that might rival your huge Gladiators. And unfortunately, it just doesn't work out for them. But yeah, there you go. Game number 1. Let's get into number 2. Alrighty, getting into game 2 then. We're going to be talking about what happens when you're forced to go first. And that's part of why we play so many interruptions in this deck. I believe at this particular replay we were playing double Pank. They're going to go Ecclesia here. Luckily, Call by the Grave is a huge counter to Ecclesia. We're able to banish that from his graveyard, eating up that special summon as well as his normal summon for the turn, but considering we didn't have any monsters on field, he is able to go into the emergence here. We're going to Ash that, praying to God he just doesn't have anything else, but there is a Call by the Grave of his own. So that emergence is in fact going to resolve, meaning he can pick up any Sword Soul card he wants. Now there's only one card that is useful in this context, and that is going to be the Strategist, because it can special summon itself out to the field. Luckily we're not out of interruptions just yet. We still got the maximum sheesh here, the maxi vitamin C coming out, activating. He's already used his Call by the Grave, so the chances of him being able to negate this are slim to none, my friend, especially with Ash Blossom now officially being hit with Call by the Grave. Unusable then for the next 2 turns. They're going to summon out Baron, giving us a bunch of cards, dealing 1200 damage. Going to pop our Droplet. We are going to activate it to pitch Augustus to grave, purely so that we're going to take a little bit less damage this turn. It may keep us in the game long enough to secure a win here. The Baron de Fleur, of course, being negated. Was that the best play in the world? Maybe not. We're going to have to see. Going into our turn here, the Pankratops is going to give us a huge advantage. Special summoning Pank straight out to the field, no chain link, no nothing. Activating its effect to tribute itself, forcing the Baron negate. He has to use it or lose it in this situation, and he's choosing to use it. So no more Omni negate for you, my friend. We're going to activate Tinky just to see if he has an Ash. Even if he did, it's not playable. Fractal then, discarding Fractal to send Kit from deck to grave. Kit then activates to send Nerval from deck to grave. Nerval activates to grab Karas to our hand, generating a bunch of cards in our graveyard. We're going to discard the Lucari to summon Karas out to the field. Karas banished to to summon out Dragares. Who would have seen that coming? Dragares cannot be destroyed by battle. We're going to boost ourselves up a little bit with the Vespasius. Then during the end of the battle phase, we're going to summon out Bestiari and Atriox. Bestiari popping our card, and Atriox sending a Tamer to copy its name and level. The level being the most important part, of course. Darius is also a good Gladiator beast to have in these situations, but we're going to go in the Artamer, and our opponent's going to hit us with the Nibiru. They were ready for us. They're going to summon out an 8100 attack token to our field. Now the question is, with 2 cards in hand, can they out a token this big? And the answer is no. There is no back row card that Sword Soul plays that I'm even remotely afraid of. We're going to summon the Karas. Karas banish 4 to summon out Shureg, the ominous Omen. Shureg targets and banishes the back row card. It was nothing. And we're going to swing in, take out the token, and swing for 81 to the face. 8100 damage off of your own token that you gave me. You throw a rock at me, I'm just going to throw it right back, my friend. And that is game. Let's get into game number 3. Alright, getting into our third game here. I feel like I should note that yes, this is yet another Sword Soul player, but no, I did not go looking for these matchups. Our first 3 matches when we took this deck into ranked all just happened to be Sword Souls. It is a tier 1 deck. We should be expecting to see it quite a lot. You know, it is what it is. We're going to go through a little bit of chaining here. Ecclesia, Chain Link 1, Maxi resolves as Chain Link 4. Cult by the Grave is going to banish and negate the Ash Blossom that was meant for their Ecclesia, meaning Ecclesia is in fact going to resolve on this turn, summoning out the Mo Yi from their deck, but we do get to draw. Mo Yi, revealing Mo Yi then. A weird choice to not just summon it unless that's his only worm. We are going to negate it off of the Imperm. Questionable Imperm. Maybe could have held on to that a little bit longer and just let him summon a couple more times, but we have enough resources in hand to at least make some plays happen. We're going to go Proving Grounds here. Proving Grounds grabbing Bestiari directly from our deck. We're going to use Karas, pitch Augustus to Grave, but this is where our opponent's going to hit us with a Maxi of their own, which is, you know, not so great. I think at this point we decide, you know what, it's probably best we're just going to summon our card, set our droplet, and pass it to our opponent. We don't need to do anything too crazy here. We still have a decent bit of advantage. They're going to swing in, take out our Karas. It's not worth protecting with the droplet. We'll just hold on to the droplet for now and see what we can top deck into. We top deck into the Kit. Amazing draw. Kit then on someone's going to banish 2 from grave to summon out the Dragares. They attempt to negate it off of the effect ability, which would normally stop us, but we've got the droplet face down. Droplet pitching the Kit to grave, not only ensuring that its effect resolves to summon out the Gladiator beast Dragares, but also triggering the effect of Kit to send a Tri-Brigade from deck to graveyard. We're going to send Nerval. Nerval then of course is going to activate and give us a Karas. We're going to go in the battle phase here, taking out his monster to get rid of that Mo Yi. Swinging for 15 to the face. You can't activate anything that I'm attacking with my beast. Bestiari shuffling itself back first of all. In this sort of situation, it's important that you shuffle Bestiari back first, so that off of your Dragares, you can re-summon it again, so you can pop this back row. No one wants to be dealing with back row, let's get rid of that. And our opponent realizes very quickly that without his back row, we've 2 cards left in hand in his draw phase, and the fact that we're going to be able to go into a Domitianus negate or a Heraclinos negate, whichever one we choose, there's simply no way. He simply cannot compete. Outmatched, outplayed, outgunned, and yeah, let's get into game number 4. Now this is actually a matchup I was convinced for a little while that I was going to lose. They're going to open up a Lord of Heavenly Prisons here, summoning out their Diplos. Diplos pitching Phyresia to grave and passing to us. Luckily for us, they didn't open up the most broken board in the world, and we just top deck into Pancratops. Pancratops summoning itself out to the field. It's going to trigger their Dinomorphia alert, which is going to summon out their Royal Rare Phyresia. Beautiful card. Phyresia grabbing Frenzy, so they've got the follow-up if they need it. Ferret Flames now is going to force us to use our Pancratops early. We target the Diplos, which probably wasn't super smart of us, right? We should have targeted Phyresia. But it's fine because now Phyresia gets destroyed, but it's going to banish the Ferret Flames to resummon the Diplos. Diplos now, because it was summoned last turn, gets to use its effect again. Bestiary shuffling itself back to grab us Vespasius, which isn't very much. We're going to set our droplet and pass. This is what happens when you open a hand of like exclusively Gladiator Beasts. Gladiator Beasts aren't that good. That's why we're keeping the engine to a minimum. The extra deck monsters are busted, but the main deck monsters relatively weak. We do top deck into the Nerval though, and again, he may be small, but that's all we need. We're going to Ash Blossom that Frenzy. We do not need to be competing with a Kentragina and Rexstrom right now. We're going to try and postpone that as best we can. He is going to bring out his Lord of Heavenly Prisons though. That 3k booty now on the field, setting another Ferret Flames to his field. He is abusing us with this card. Dinomorphia Brute preemptively getting rid of our Vespasius, but he left up Nerval. You do not leave up the Nerval. Nerval is going to beat thine ass. So Nerval then is going to link off into Salamangreat Almirage. Almirage then being summoned allows Nerval to search our deck for Karas. Karas is going to pitch from hand to Grave the Augustus to summon itself out. And now we've got the materials we need. We're going to banish 2. He does try to Velar us, but again, tried it last time, it didn't work. It's not going to work this time either. We're going to droplet, send our Karas to the graveyard to negate and minimize that Phyresia. I'm sure you can see exactly where this is going by now. We're going to summon out the Gladiator Beast Dragaris. When it attacks, your opponent cannot activate any card effects. 1000 for game over the Phyresia, and GG's. As easy as that. And even if we didn't finish him right there, we would have summoned out Bestiary from deck, as well as a sorry, we probably would have summoned Bestiary and Vespasius. Bestiary taking out another one of his monsters. We might not have been able to go into the editor on that particular turn. We would have had to play it out to find out, but either way, you can't beat that. You know what I mean? Just raw beatdown over the Phyresia. You love to see it. Dinomorphia, of course, being one of those more toxic decks that a lot of combo decks fold to. So being able to secure a pretty easy-ish win against them, love to see it. Anyway, let's get into the deck profile. Alrighty, getting into the deck list here. We are playing an absolute ton of hand traps and blowout cards, so we're going to remove those from the list first so you can actually see the core of what we're playing. We've got the double Maximum C, we've got the triple Ash Blossom, trying to get that Max C out of the way. We've got the triple Lightning Storm, very good blowout card, especially in a meta filled with back row. We've got the double Call by the Grave, less necessary than you would think, honestly, in this particular deck. We've got the triple Droplet, absolutely mandatory. Triple Droplet is insane. Droplet is crazy in this deck, absolutely. Any major going second strategy needs Droplet. This card is nuts. Imperm, I just look at Imperm like a baby Droplet, right? I think Imperm is just baby Droplet. And lastly is Pank. I'm going to count Pank among these. I was running 2, I bumped it down to 1. I think 1 is fine. If you don't have him, just bump something else up, right? Play an extra Maxi, something like that. It doesn't really matter. He's not super key integral, but having someone that doubles as an extender and a disruption piece, kind of nice. Especially considering it doesn't begin a chain link. So, you know, it is what it is. Take what you can. So this is the actual core of the deck. It's separated quite cleanly into 2 different parts. We've got a small Gladiator Beast engine in the main deck, as well as our Tri-Brigades, which actually get the whole deck going. So the Gladiator Beasts in the main deck, for the most part, aren't that good, right? Let's just put that out there. These cards are not the greatest cards in the game, right? We'll cover the Gladiator Beast cards first, right? So we got Bestiary, Lakari, Atriox, Vespasius, and Augustus, right? So all the Gladiator Beast main deck monsters have 2 common effects. They all shuffle themselves back into the deck at the end of a battle phase where they successfully battled. They didn't have to destroy the monster, they just have to have battled and still be alive, right? So at the end of a battle phase where one of them had battled, you can shuffle them back into the deck to summon another Gladiator Beast from the deck, and then they all have a variable effect that activates upon being summoned by the effect of a Gladiator Beast. Bestiary, for example, pops a back row card, which is pretty good sometimes, honestly. Not only is it good for sniping opponents' back row, it's also good at clearing out your own Tenki to make sure your Lightning Storm is live on follow-up turns. So Bestiary's effect, pretty good. Definitely one of the better ones. Lakari, just boosts his attack points up to 2100. This guy's purely here for his name. Bestiary is also sort of here for its name, so its effect is decent, but it's mainly here for its name because you kind of need it for Geyseris if you're going to summon it off of something like United, which we'll get to in a second. But Bestiary, Lucari, mainly here for their names. We've got Atrix, whatever. The cat lady, the mountain lion. What this one does is on summon, it's going to pitch from your deck or your extra deck to the graveyard a Gladiator Beast, and it's going to copy its name and its level. For the most part, you're going to be pitching from your extra deck to the graveyard, something like your Tamer, just so that you're a level 5 or higher, meaning you can use this card in the Contact Fusion of the Tamer itself. All this guy needs is 2 level 5 or higher Gladiator Beasts, so because this card copies the level, you can use Atrix to go into the likes of your Tamer if one of your other big monsters are already in the graveyard. Speaking of our other big monsters, we're going to start with Vespasius. Vespasius just gives a 500 attack point boost to all other monsters on your field if it was summoned by a Gladiator Beast effect, which is fine. Some of your Gladiator Beasts are already huge, and you can sort of select your opponent's attack targets if you've got Dominatus on the field, which means that forcing your opponent to attack into your 4k beater is, you know, it's a pretty good defensive tactic. It's not terrible, but then again, it's not that much better than forcing your opponent to attack your 3500 attack beater. So it's sort of pick your battles. And Augustus is simultaneously one of the best and one of the worst effects in this, right? Because it's one of the best objectively because it's a decent extender. You can summon a Gladiator Beast from hand, and that's all well and cool. The only thing is, because we play so few Gladiator Beasts, we very, very rarely actually get to resolve the effect of Augustus. So it's here almost purely as a level 5 or higher Gladiator Beast. We were initially playing Andabata, which was another reason to play it. A fusion monster that specifically lists Augustus. But we ended up cutting this. We did not need it, and we were never using it, and we much would have preferred the room for more link packages. So that's the Gladiator Beast main deck monsters. Generally speaking, they're here either for their name or for their level, or in Atrix's in case both. But yeah. Then we've got triple copies of Gladiator Proving Ground. Just gives you a little bit more consistency with putting the cards you need into the graveyard. Don't forget, all of these guys can be pitched to the graveyard to summon out the likes of Karas, or used as material off of the likes of Nerval, Kit, Fractal, Karas's effects. So being able to search the ones you want to put them into the graveyard is always nice. I don't really think Proving Ground is necessary, to be honest. You don't really need nor want to have these guys in your hand too often. This is primarily Ash bait, but it does occasionally come up as useful as well. But if you don't want to play this card, you don't have to. Honestly, you can play more Tri-Brigade cards. If you have more extenders or engines you want to play, you can. But with playing so few Gladiator Beasts on our main deck, this card actually isn't really all that important. Then you've got Gladiator Beast Comeback. A lot of people play this at 3 whenever they're trying to build this deck. I think that's a mistake. I think playing it at 1 is fine. Being able to use this to recycle your editor is really cool. But you don't want to brick on it. And it is on occasion a bit of a big brick. So we play it at 1 so we can search for it off of our Test Panther. But this guy basically revives a Gladiator Beast from your graveyard or summons one out from your hand, as long as its type is different from the ones you already control. So pretty decent card. We've got Tenki and a level 4 or lower Beast Warrior from deck to hand. Almost always going to be Fractal. That's pretty much the only decent one. You can technically search for Atrix or Lucari, but you're searching for Fractal. Let's be real, it's Fractal City. Gladiator Beast United. Gladiator Beast United basically is a quick play fusion spell during the battle phase by shuffling from your field, hand, or graveyard back into the deck. This card is absolutely nuts, especially in combination with your Drageris. I'm assuming that's how you say that, but there's a cool little combo. I'm going to talk about this now because we're on the card. Drageris, if your Drageris is attacking an opponent's monster, your opponent can't activate any card effects until the end of that battle. Right, so what you can do is you can attack with your Drageris into your opponent's monster. Its effect activates, they're cold waved, they can't activate anything. Then you can activate Gladiator Beast United in the battle step. then it's going to be able to fusion summon using your graveyard. So if you have the likes of Bestiari and any other Gladiator Beast engrave, you can summon out Geyseris, pop 2 with no response. If you have your Vespasius engrave and 2 Gladiator Beasts, you can summon out Dominatus with no response, Herculinos with no response. But the primary usage of it is, of course, the Geyseris, being able to just summon out this guy, 2400 attack beater, pop 2 cards in the field. Absolutely nutty, especially in a state where your opponent cannot respond to the card effect. It's just great. It's such a cool little combo. Absolutely in love with that little play. And yeah, that covers our main deck Gladiator Beast. Our Tri-Brigades are also all pretty similar in that they have an effect that activates when sent to the graveyard, as well as one common effect that all of them have, that while they're in the field you can activate it to banish Beast, Winged Beast, or Beast Warriors, or the Tri-Beasts as they're called. You can banish Tri-Beasts from your graveyard up to the link rating of one of your Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast link monsters and summon that monster to your field. So your Tri-Brigades are going to be how you're summoning out your Drageris. You're going to basically banish 2 Tri-Beasts from your graveyard to summon Drageris straight out to the field. Drageris then is going to summon 2 Gladiators from deck, and that's where your whole play gets started. So that is pretty busted, so that's why we're playing so many of them. I would play more if I was allowed. You could even bump Karas up to 3 if you twisted my arm. Absolutely, I think Karas at 3 would even be a good play. But yeah, Nerval, so there's a bit of a combo that you want to usually begin with Fractal in hand. Fractal will cycle through every one of your Tri-Brigade. So Fractal will send a Tri-Brigade, or a level 3 or lower beast, Tri-Beast basically, from deck to graveyard. You're normally going to send Kit. Kit, when sent to the graveyard, will send a Tri-Brigade card from deck to grave. It's going to send Nerval. When Nerval is sent to the graveyard, it will search your deck for a Tri-Brigade monster and add it to hand, so you search for Karas. Karas can discard a Tri-Beast to special summon itself. So having Fractal in your hand, it's limited to 2, you've also got 2 copies of Tinky. This card gets the entire Tri-Brigade package running, because not only do you have a special summonable Karas, you're also now going to have at least 3 beasts. And again, if you special summon this, at least 4 Tri-Beasts in your graveyard to get your plays running. You only need 2. You got more than enough resources. But even then, if you draw into Kit or you draw into Nerval, fear not, you can just normal summon them and link them off into Almirage, trigger their graveyard effects, get searching, get milling, get filling up your graveyard, and get playing the game. So Tri-Brigades are really straightforward. They're just filling up your graveyard and using their effects to link summon out your Drageris, link summon out other cards like Berberum if you need to, and generally speaking, winning you the game. One thing I will say, do not use a Tri-Brigade to summon Test Panther. It does not work. I have tried it. Don't do it. And lastly then, for the main deck, we're playing the one of Tri-Brigade Revolt, one of the most powerful trap cards in the game. Honestly, I'm shocked this isn't a UR. So you basically get to special summon any number of Tri-Beasts from your graveyard or your banish pile up to the link rating of a summonable link monster, and then you summon that link monster out to the field. So you basically, during your opponent's turn. Also, I never realized that Albion was in the background of this picture. Kinda nice, not gonna lie. But you basically get to summon out as many of your beasts as you want, and summon out Tri-Brigade Shureg the Ominous Omen during your opponent's turn. This will allow you to non-targeting banish any card on the field, and then for every turn after that, anytime you summon a beast to your field once per turn, you get to banish another card. Basically, it's just Dark Magical Circle, but on a 3k body. Absolutely crazy. You can even summon it during your turn using your Tri-Brigade effects if you are so inclined. But yeah, no, Revolt is absolutely nutty. It definitely deserves to be a UR. This card is crazy. I don't know who this guy is. I feel like I've seen this monster somewhere, but I just can't place it in my head. Is that Rugal? It is Rugal. Yeah, I knew it. I knew I'd seen that somewhere. Okay, yeah, so it's Rugal in this art. That was gonna bug me if I didn't get that. Tangent. Anyway, getting into the extra deck. So we're gonna start with our fusions, our Gladiator Beasts, the stars of the show themselves. starting with Geyseris. Geyseris is a fusion of Bestiary as well as any other Gladiator beasts. On summon, target up to 2 cards on the field, pop pop. Easy as that, 2400 attack meter. If it battles at the end of the battle phase, you shuffle it back to summon 2 Gladiator beasts from your deck. So basically you're getting your 2-for-1 value back off of this guy as well. Pretty nutty, especially in combination with Gladiator Beast United. Love to see it. You've got Herculinos. Herculinos is a fusion of Lucari and 2 other Gladiator Beasts. He is one of your 2 huge fusion monsters. This guy, whenever a spell or trap card is activated, discard a card, negate the activation, and destroy it. Not once per turn, not once per chain. This card is only limited by the number of cards you have in your hand, so you can negate 2, 3, 4 spell cards if you have enough materials in your hand. Absolutely bonkers. Herculinos, definitely a crazy card. Then you've got Dominatus. Dominatus, 3500 attack, making him the biggest monster in your deck, at least by conventional means. As long as this guy's face up, you get to choose your opponent's attack targets, and once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can negate the effect and destroy that card with absolutely 0 cost. You don't need to discard, you don't need to pay life points, you don't even need to look your opponent in the eye. You just say no. Once per turn. Really, really good. And lastly then, the card that makes the whole thing work, the Gladiator Beast Tamer Editor. This card single-handedly makes Gladiator Beast playable. This deck would not be playable without this card. We're running it at 2. You could twist my arm into saying 3. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it would hurt a little, but you could convince me to play 3. Anyway, he's summoned using any 2 level 5 or higher Gladiator Beasts, so it's usually going to be your Vespasius or your Augustus, or if either one of those guys are otherwise preoccupied and unavailable to be summoned off of your Trigaris, which we'll get to in a second, it's going to be your Atriox instead, which will copy the level of something in your extra deck. So, Tamer then, once per turn, you get to special summon a Gladiator Beast fusion monster from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. You just summon out Domitanus, 0 cost. Summon out Herculinos, 0 cost. Monster negate, spell trap card negate. Summon out Geyseris with 0 cost, popping 2 cards on the field. Absolutely bonkers. Most of the time you're going to be summoning Domitanus, 1 because he's 3500 attack, 2 because his ability doesn't have any cost, and this deck isn't the greatest at generating advantage. So generally you're not going to have a ton of cards to discard off of Herculinos. So usually you'll go for this guy, and 3, just look at this art, my guy. What do you mean? Beautiful card. So yes, normally you're going to go for Domitanus, but this is a soft once per turn. If you shuffle this guy back into your extra deck using the likes of Test Panther or whatever it is, and you can resummon him, or if you link him off and then bring him back from the graveyard using your Gladiator Beast comeback, you can use his effect more than once per turn, and it is absolutely bonkers. Being able to bring out Domitanus plus Herculinos, or Domitanus plus Nuclear Board off Geyseris, it's just nuts. It really is. This card is honestly insane. Getting into the Link monsters then, so we have a couple of Gladiator Beast Link monsters. We're going to talk about those. I keep on referring to this card, Dragaces or whatever. Dragaris, I always call him Dragaris, right? That's his name as far as I'm concerned. This card is the card that makes the magic happen. So it can be summoned to the field off of any of your Tri-Brigades, right? So that's how you're going to summon it, off of a Tri-Brigade. Then when it battles, or when any Gladiator Beast monster attacks, it can't be destroyed by battle, and your opponent can activate cards when it attacks, which is not just this guy, that's anything. Now at the end of a battle phase where it is battled, you shuffle this guy back into the deck to summon out 2 Gladiator Beasts from your deck. Now remember, you summon this guy for free by banishing monsters from your graveyard off Karas, so you're turning this monster that you summon for free into 2 Gladiator Beasts of your choosing. What 2 are you going to choose? Well, you're going to choose the 2 that are level 5 or higher, so you can go straight into your Tamer Editor in main phase 2 to summon out Domitanus. If one of these guys are indisposed, summon Atriox to take its place. But you're summoning your 2 level 5 or higher to go into your Tamer, to go into game. It is simple. It is just that simple. This card is absolutely nuts, purely because of that little effect and interaction with Tri-Brigades. Lastly then, we have Test Panther. This will be summoned using a Gladiator Beast and any other card, so it's not quite as stringent to summon as its counterpart. You're normally going to use something like the Tamer Editor to summon this guy out to the field, because when it's summoned, you can grab a Gladiator Beast card from your deck and add it to your hand, which means you can add the Comeback. So because you've got Comeback, as long as you don't control a Beast Warrior, which you shouldn't because you'll have a Beast and you'll probably have a Sea Serpent, but you can then revive the Tamer Editor directly from the grave and go into another fusion monster if you are so inclined. So you can do that. That's an absolutely phenomenal play. So this grabs you any Gladiator Beast card from deck. It can also grab you Unity. If you don't have a proper play or setup with Comeback, if you don't have any cards to discard off of Herculino, so maybe you're not getting any value out of this guy, and you can instead just set up a Gladiator Beast United so you can summon Geyseris during your opponent's battle phase. That's always fun. I love doing that. So Test Panther, pretty busted. It has a second effect as well that allows you to shuffle a Gladiator Beast back into the deck to summon another Gladiator Beast with a different name directly from your deck. So you can shuffle back the likes of your Tamer, shuffle back your Augustus, your Bestiari, whatever it is. You'll usually end up bringing out a Vespasius, because Vespasius basically just boosts up your field by 500, which is kind of nice. You don't really have anything else worth summoning. You could technically go Atriox if you wanted to set up a Bestiari and Grea for United. That's a play you can do, but either way, generally speaking, you're probably going to go Vespasius for the extra attack point boost. But yeah, pretty straightforward there. Getting into our Tri-Brigade links then, we've got a few. We've got Tri-Brigade Ferjit the Baron Blossom, which will summon out any of your Tri-Beasts from your hand, level 4 or lower, which generally speaking is a really nice way of extending your combos a little bit further and getting your extra Tri-Brigades out to the field. It also has an effect where if it's sent to the graveyard, you get to draw one and mulligan one. Tri-Brigade Berberum the Rampant Rampager. When this card is sent to the it has a whole discard 2 card effects. That effect sucks. But it has an effect where if it's sent to the graveyard, you can grab a Tri-Brigade spell or trap, add it to your hand, and then shuffle a card back into your deck. That's how you're going to be searching your deck for Revolt for the quick play Sure Egg on your opponent's turn, which we'll get to in a second. But Berberum is your way of searching for Revolt. Rugal's not that important of a card by himself, but what this guy aims to do is be the sauce that enables you to continually use your Sure Egg during your opponent's turns as the game progresses. So obviously you use Sure Egg on summon, but you also get to use it once per turn upon the summon of another Tri-Beast. So Rugal, once per turn during your opponent's turn, you can special summon a Tri-Beast from your graveyard, and that's going to trigger off the Sure Egg if you still have it on the field. So Rugal is purely here to trigger Sure Egg. And speaking of the devil himself, when he is summoned, or if another Tri-Beast is summoned to the field, once per turn, banish any card on the field without targeting. Busted. If it's sent to the graveyard, you can add a Tri-Beast from your deck to your hand whose level is less than or equal to the number of banished Tri-Beasts that you possess, which doesn't come up super often. It's mainly the whole banishment effect. It's mainly the fact he's ridiculously easy to summon, and the fact he's on a 3k beater, you know? He's just an overall amazing card. You can probably play him at 2 if you have to. And then from there, we've just got some generic links. Salamangreat Almirage, mandatory card. You need it to make sure you can trigger off your Kit and your Nerval whenever you need to. Salamangreat Almirage is mandatory. I'm sorry if you don't have it. Go and get it. This card is good. It's good on a whole range of decks. There's no reason not to have this. So Almirage is good. IP Masquerena. Occasionally you want to do Masquerena. It's a play that comes up. I don't know what else to tell you. We got Access Code, because Access Code comes up a good little bit. Just sort of special summon away, destroy your opponent's monsters. And lastly, Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, the White Lady Jumpscare herself. Again, it's just one of those things that comes up on occasion. You can spam monsters out decently easily, so it's really not that tough to go into it. So why not play it? You don't have to, but I mean, why not? I guess you could technically, if you really wanted to, you could cut the Goddess and go into Unicorn instead. I think Unicorn's really good, right? I feel like we definitely should find room for it. I just don't know where that room is, because the Jump Scare is really good at dealing with problematic cards, right? But then again, so is Sure Egg. You've already got tools for dealing with cards like that, so maybe the Unicorn is in fact best. But like I said, I haven't even really explored that part of the engine too much because the Gladiator beasts and the Tri-Brigades themselves are just so powerful that we don't even need to. So that's everything I have to say on the deck. If you got this far and you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? You might as well if you've got this far. Obviously you like what you're seeing, so I would implore you to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.